Hey guys, Mike here from Binny Outdoors. Welcome to a fall edition of the channel. It is late fall. Next week is Halloween. It is late in the season. The water temps are low. Those bass are hit or miss. But today what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you my strategy for how I break down a lake in the fall, how I fight against that cold water, and how I try to locate those bigger than average fish that are feeding up for the winter. So first of all, the way we're gonna start out, what I like to personally do is I like to pick one half of the lake and really focus on it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start out in that mid-depth range. Now the max depth for this lake is 30 feet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run about 10 feet. There's an edge along this whole shoreline right behind me that runs about 10 feet. We're gonna do some deep cranking. We're gonna do some lipless, some chatterbaits. We're gonna use a reaction style bait. We're gonna keep moving. Once we locate a fish, once we hook into a fish, we're gonna very quickly identify what's there. Is it wood? Is it shallow water? Was it the color? We gotta put the puzzle together a lot faster in the fall. Once we get those pieces, then we're gonna pick those types of areas apart and we're just gonna keep moving around until we find that pattern, and then we're gonna hopefully get onto a big school of smallmouth and largemouth that are in this lake. So let's go. Jesus, I really don't want to bow flip this guy. Wow. Yep, I can't bow flip this guy. This is a big bass. Here we go, guys. First fish of the day. This is not a long bass, but he is girthy. This is why you fish in the fall. That right there, guys, is why you fish in the fall. That's probably a, I don't know, 17-inch bass. But look at the belly and the girth on that thing. That was on a black and blue swim jig. Nice fish. Get him back in the water. Well guys, so that's one piece of the puzzle. Now I'm only in 4 feet of water fishing black and blue swim jig. So about this area right here. And that fish hit that a couple of different times, which tells me they're chasing. So he didn't kind of mouth it, he didn't just pick it up, he smoked that bait. So that tells me that they're actively feeding. So that's going to be a key to knowing what to do next. I'll probably throw on a bigger swim bait, just a regular swim bait without the skirt, and I'll probably try getting some bigger size crankbaits and see if those are enticing as well. But so far, one largemouth in the boat. Still looking for those smallmouth, but I think those are going to be out deeper, further into that end, but we haven't quite got over there yet. Since I last talked to you guys, I fished about, I don't know, a quarter of the shoreline on the southern end of the lake. Did a lap around, went into the shallow stuff, fished some top water, didn't pick it up, fished some Texas rigs. Right now, I think it's going to be the swim jig reaction style, and that's what we're going to stick with for a little bit and see if that's the pattern. Got him. Number 2 on the jig. Again, not a like super giant, but what's crazy is just the girth this time of year. Another one, guys. Like I said, not a monster, but the girth on these, the bellies on them, man, they're feeding up for sure. Okay. What?
God asked if it wasn't Travis, but he didn't get an answer.
Jesus Christ, what a piece of fuck this is. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Got him in the trolling motor. Well, guys, there's another one. That one on the jig. He got wrapped up in the trolling motor. Had to hand line him in. But number 3 for the day. So that was the third fish. That was actually on a jig. This one right here is actually a queen tackle jig. It's a little bit of a brown, got a little bit of orange in it with a Yum Christy Craw on there. But what that tells me is that they're interested in the secondary action. So that was a jig bite, but I popped it off the bottom and then he started chasing it. He hit it a couple of times before I set on him. So it tells me that, again, they're still chasing, but what it also tells me is that they're looking for bigger profiles. So small downsized baits are not going to be the ticket here. They're looking for a bigger upsized type of bite. So that's the other piece of the puzzle that we're gonna add. So shallow water, upsized bite, secondary action like a skirted type of bait. So I'm gonna switch to a chatterbait for a moving bait as well and see if that also is what they're looking for. And we're just gonna kind of keep working these shallow areas and just keep putting the information together. But so far it's been a really good day. I've caught 3 really good sized fish. Really happy with the day so far, but we're not done yet because we still have a lot of day left to see if we can catch that smallmouth. Probably down the boat flip that one, but number 4, guys, on the Texas rig. All right, guys, not a bad little bass right there. All right, guys, well, as tradition with fall fishing, it's junk fishing. So we got another bait. This one right here is the Berkley Creature Hog. It's a max scent bait, just Texas rigged. This is a bait that has been doing really well for me for a couple of months now. But the difference is it's still a big profile. It still has that same concept like a jig. It's just without the skirt, but it's still a beefier size presence. I was actually using something that was kind of interesting, probably a very Vermont style of fishing, but I was actually fishing a leaf line. So that sounds really weird, but this time of year, obviously fall, all those maple leaves, all the leaves come off the trees and they actually form a line across the shore, which acts just like vegetation would. It gives overhead cover to those bass. So I was throwing this into the edge of that grass line, but in this case, instead of grass, it was just a accumulation of all the leaves that have been pushed up against the shore, that all the wind has just pushed everything over. So it's making like a whole new series of cover that didn't exist before. Those bass are still hanging out underneath of it. They still get protection from it. They still feel like they're getting the ambush that they need. So it's something to keep in mind, guys, is it doesn't always have to be something that's traditional overhead cover. It can be a pile of leaves on the surface that those bass are still gonna load up under. All right, guys, I am actually home. So I drove home after fishing all day. I was pretty tired, it was pretty windy, and I decided to just record this outro in my driveway. It was a pretty simple day as far as pattern goes. I caught that first fish on a swim jig, so I decided to keep that tied on, and I started fishing a regular bass jig. So that swim jig was a black and blue, and then I switched up to actually a more gold colored jig only because of history. I know that that area, I've had luck with that type of jig. So it was a queen tackle tungsten jig, and it had a Christy Craw, which was a green pumpkin and like a green fleck. That ended up getting me a couple more fish, and I caught those fish
in an area where there was sunken timber. So I put the pattern together that I needed to fish around wood, and I needed to fish with a bigger profile bait. Picked up the last fish on a creature hog, black blue Berkeley Max Scent creature hog, Texas rigged, not pegged, and that again was caught on a log. So overall, it was a really, really good day. Put the pattern together and came out of there with 5 largemouth. Did not manage to find a smallmouth, but that's okay. It was still a good day. I do want to mention, everybody that I've talked to about fall fishing, they have some misconceptions, and I want to clear this up a little bit. You don't always catch 5 fish. A lot of times you won't catch anything at all. The seasons are just not friendly. So right now your weather is going to change constantly. I wasn't supposed to get any rain today, and I got poured on. And then it got to be 70 degrees, and then it got to be windy. The weather does not stay stable in the fall in the Northeast. So if you're having a tough fall, just remember, we all are having a tough fall. It has been a rough October for me. The last 3 outings, I did not catch a damn thing, did not make a video. You don't know that because I'm not going to post a day of not catching fish. So keep in mind that just because you're having a tough day does not mean you're not a good fisherman or fisherwoman or angler or whatever you want to use the words. But keep in mind that you need to learn. The only way I would say you're unsuccessful is if you didn't learn something in that outing. Practice a technique that you're not good at. Try a different bait that you maybe haven't tried yet, or maybe you weren't sure about. That's how you get better at this sport, is just learn every time you go out, whether you catch fish or not, at least improve your skill set. And the more you do that, the less likely you are to blank the next time you go out. One last thing, I am going to be doing the Spawn podcast every other week from here on out. So the rest of the year, up until May, I'm going to be doing a podcast every other week, so twice a month. I'm going to be having a lot of special guests. We're going to be talking a lot of topics, and I really appreciate it if you guys just come on, hang out with me, ask questions. Let's build this community, and let's see where this podcast can go. I want to thank you guys for coming along with me. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and as always, let's get out there, catch more fish.